Do you love granny squares but hate weaving in the ends? If you do, this is the video for you. I hate those pesky ends. Well, stick with me and I'll show you a way that we can get rid of those ends really, really quick and easy.
Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is clean up my mess because I made quite a mess here. And then we're actually going to make a new granny square so that I can show you how I do it. And you'll get a free granny square tutorial at the same time. Alrighty, let's get our stuff together. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. All right, I think I'm set. All right, what color shall we start with? Let's start with white. Why not? So I am going to go ahead and start my granny square. If you are not interested in learning about how to make a granny square, maybe you already know how to make one, that's cool. Just go ahead and skip forward. I'll put the time marker down here and you can skip forward to that part to learn about not weaving in your ends. But for now, I'm gonna go ahead and make a granny square really quick. So I'm just going to chain up 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to insert my hook into the first chain to make a circle. See, that's going to make a circle for me. I'm going to slip stitch, pull that through, and I've got my little circle. Okay, I'm going to chain up 2, 1, 2, and work a couple double crochets right into that circle. So there's 1 and 2. Now that first chain that I did, that's going to count as a double crochet. So what that looks like now is it looks like I have 3 double crochets side by side, which is a cluster. It's a granny cluster. I'm going to chain 2, and then I am going to continue to make granny clusters into this circle. Now you see this tail here? I'm going to try to hold that down there so that eventually I'm going to crochet right over it. So here's another double crochet. There's 1. There's 2. There's 3. Oops, get out of the way, tail. Oh, there we go. And chain 2 more. See how I'm going right over it? And we're going to make another cluster, so 3 more of those. There's 1. There's 2. There's 3. I have a more beginner-friendly tutorial on how to make a granny square that I will link up here in the cards. So if this is going too fast for you and you want to slow down the granny square, check that video out. Okay, I need to make 1 more cluster, because we need 4, because these are the sides of the square. So you're going to need 4 sides. Whoops. 2, 3. That's our last cluster. Now our chain 2s that we do in between our clusters, those are our corners. So I'm going to need to make 2 more of those. 2 more chains. 1, 2. And now I'm going to join with a slip stitch into my chain up space, or to my chain up, my top chain, and my first initial chain. 2, there we go. Wiggle that in there. And I'm going to pull that through. Oh, come on there, a little tight. Okay, and now this is where it gets interesting. So I'm going to go ahead and do some slip stitches all the way to the next corner. So there's 1 slip stitch, 2 slip stitches, and I'm going to go into this very last one right here. And I'm not going to pull it all the way through. I'm going to leave 2 loops on the hook like that. I'm going to set that down and cut it. Cut, because I'm going to change colors. So we're going to get rid of the white, and we'll go with green next because it's right here. So I've got those 2 2 loops on my hook. I'm going to go ahead and pull those through. Or I'm sorry, I'm going to put the green yarn right on top of my hook. Just lay it on there, hold it down, and pull it through. And that's how I'm changing color. Underneath here, I'm going to grab the end that I just cut, pull that down a little bit tighter. And I'm going to grab the working yarn and pull that through. Kind of tighten it down a little bit, snug it down. And now you see I have an end of green and my end of white. Now, just like we did at the beginning, we are going to crochet right over these so that they're kind of hidden, okay? So I chained up one. I'm going to chain up one more to make my chain 2. And I'm going to go ahead and work right into the corner of my square. So I'm going to yarn over and work my double crochet, holding down that white and green yarn so that I end up crocheting over them. See how I've crocheted over them? Okay, I'm going to do that again. Make sure you're using your working yarn though, not your tails. Okay, so there's another double crochet. So now I'm going to chain 2 to make my corner, and I'm going to place another cluster right there, continuing to crochet right over the top of these guys. So there's one, there's 2. See, I'm still going right over the tops. And there's 3. Okay, now that's not all of it. Okay, watch till the end because I will show you at the very end how I hide them. Okay, I'm going to continue to go around my square. And again, if you want a more in-depth and slower going tutorial on granny squares, yeah, check out that other one, because this is really just a brief overview. I'm trying to teach something else with this video, but I happen to be making a granny square while I'm doing it. So I'm going to make my other cluster in this corner. So I'm kind of hurrying through. I jump to the next corner. There's 1, 2, 3. Now you see I'm not crocheting over those 2 anymore. I just did it for that first corner. Okay. I don't remember if I told you that already. Sometimes I forget. 1, 2, whoops, 3. Now I jump to the next corner. 1, 2, 3. Chain 2. Why am I singing? I don't know. Oh, that's my first tail. Get out of the way, tail. 1, 2, whoops, 3. All of a sudden, this is starting to sound like a children's program. Okay, this is the last part. I just need to join my square together here. So I'm going to do exactly what I did with the white. I'm going to go over here and join in my chain up space. My chain, I always say chain up space, where I chained up. And I'm going to work slip stitches across. And once I get to that last one, get in there, I'm going to do exactly what I did before. I'm going to leave 2 loops on my hook. Okay, and I'm going to cut my green and get rid of that. And now I'm going to change colors again. And that is one of the things I love about granny squares, is that the colors are always changing. But every time you change, we have all these ends. That's what I'm trying to avoid. All right, let's join our red. So we've got our red. I'm just going to put my yarn over my hook just like that. No loops or slip stitches or slip knots or anything like that. Just lay it right on top of the hook and pull it through. And then I kind of tighten down my green end. And use my working yarn to slip stitch that right on there. I kind of snug that down tight, snug down my green, and then I chain up 2. 1, 2, and now I'm going to crochet my clusters in this corner right on top of these 2 strands. Okay, so yarn over, work your double crochet just like you normally would, but just make sure those strands are laying on top so that you're covering them up. We want to cover them up. We don't want to see the ends. Okay, chain 2 to make your corner. Get back in there, make another cluster. 1, 2, and 3. And now we're done covering them up. Now we're just going to let them fall, just like we did with the green and white. We're just going to let them fall and work our way around our square. So let's just get around this square here. Making squares with my YouTube friends, showing them how to get rid of the ends. All right. Sorry for the song, guys. I'm in a good mood. What can I say? All right, let's work our way around. I'm trying to do this quickly so we can get to the good part. Now, I have seen people make, and I have made myself, entire blankets starting from 1 square or 1 rectangle. And all of those ends are just so much. But if you use this method, you'll only have 1 end at the beginning and 1 end at the end. And that's awesome. And it's also awesome for the little ones too, because you kind of cut your end weaving time in half. All right, we're getting there, dudes. We are getting there. We are almost all the way around. We're on our last corner. Do, 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 do. Okay, as you can see, we're coming into the holiday time, so I'm making lots of red and green and white squares. I think it's going to be a throw. I honestly wasn't sure what I was going to make with these. But we were doing I needed some squares for a photo shoot, actually, for our newsletter. That's how this started. Okay, so we are all the way around, and now I'm going to join the end of my square. And sometimes I don't join at the chain, because sometimes that leaves a little gap there. So sometimes at the end of the square, I will choose the next stitch to join, excuse me, and it kind of closes up any gaps that I might have. Okay, and then I'm just going to pull that through, just like that, and now snip it and pull it. Now this end we are going to have to weave in. The world is an imperfect place. But if we flip it over, you can see our beautiful square is all done. We've also got this center. That's another end that we are going to have to weave in. Okay, so the last one and the first one we're always going to have to weave in. But we've got all these other little stragglers, and we want to get rid of them quickly because we want to move on to the fun part, right? So I'm going to show you how to do that. You've got these 2 ends, and if you remember, we crocheted right over them when we turned the corner. All right, and we crocheted right over this as well, and you can see it kind of looks sloppy there. If you just give that a tug, that takes care of that. Takes care of that in right order. Okay, so now let's get rid of them. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is just pick them up, separate them, and tie them together. Now as I pull this down, this knot is going to go right underneath because I'm going to pull it nice and tight. See, it goes right underneath those loops. And I'm going to do it again. Now, some people like to double tie it. Their knots because it makes them a little extra tight. I don't normally do that. You can, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to tie it in a regular old knot. Give it a nice tight tug. You could do it one more time if you want to. I'm going to live on the edge. I'm going to go with the risk. But now that those are on there nice and tight, those are tied down nice and tight, then I'm just going to clip them off. Clip those right off. Pull my loops over the top of the knot, and look, it's gone. It is gone. And I did not use a needle. Let's try it again with the red and the green. Separate them. Tie them once. Tie them twice. And make sure you do snug that down. Just be careful you don't break your yarn, because then you'd have to, wow, that'd be bad. Let's just say that. That is it. That is all I do. That is how I get rid of my ends. Look at that. Now, if this were a piece that were going to be washed a lot, you know, you were giving it to a little child, you might want to consider still weaving in your ends just to be on the safe side. But this is just going to be for a holiday throw that, you know, maybe you'll go through the wash once a year, you know, at the end of the season or the beginning of the season. So it's not something that's going to go through the wash a ton. And I think my knots are pretty tight and they're well hidden. So yeah, I love this. I love this because I hate weaving in ends. All right, everybody, I hope you found this helpful. I hope it saves you time, and I hope you get to making a ton of granny squares because they are so colorful and so much fun. All right, have a great, great day, everybody, and I'll see you next time on the Whippy Chick. Bye-bye.